Are you ready? It's Monday night. It's Q&A. The Chiefs played a while ago, and now we're ready for the next step. This offense is not 100%. Neither is Patrick Mahomes. There's a lot of upside left, and it could be really, really scary. We're going to get into that and answer all your questions tonight live on RGR Football. What's up, everybody? Hope you're doing well. It's Monday night. I know there's a ball game or three coming tonight. I have no idea how many. Right. But we're going to get you your information in here now. I know there's a lot to talk about. You're going to have a lot of questions. We're going to answer them all, whether they're super chats or not. But we do appreciate the support with the super chats and buying gear in the whole 9 yards. I'm Ryan Tracy. This is Dan Harms. Dan, it feels weird to not have a game to talk about. So I know that other topics will come up, but we get a little rest just like the team did. Yeah. How important that is to the mini bye week this week.
It's so important. I mean, it's a little more important when coming against a good team. And unfortunately for the Indianapolis Colts, I don't think they're a very good team. But even so, you get to game plan. I'm not going to lie. I don't know how much Andy needs to game plan against Gus Bradley. He's had a good amount of practice in the last few years getting ready for that defense. So it's always nice to get rested up, especially with some of the nicks and knacks and injuries you're still going to get. Mahomes has been hit a few times. He was limping a little bit in that game against the Chargers. I think everyone's already dealing with some type of soft tissue injuries every now and then. The first month of the season is got to get your body into hitting shape. So it's very important for everybody.
It super is. And I got to tell you, it's just that time. And Andy talked a little bit about it on his presser today, that it just gives you a breath. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of folks are down on the offense here this last ball game, whether it's mistakes or potential INTs that got thrown or not seeing Sky more enough or whatever your complaint is. Orlando Brown, we'll talk about him later. I'm actually fairly okay with where we're at right here because that was back Mac and Bosa. There are a lot worse things that could have happened. So it is all relative. But now you get to reset. And I do feel like the game plan kind of fell into because of the way the schedule was. Yes. And now Andy even said it today. And I find it interesting when Andy mentions schedule things. He's like, Thursday night's over. We don't have another one. We're into our groove. And I think that really keys me into just how big this offense can be. Patrick has made a few mistakes or potential mistakes that haven't come through. Unlike last year, he's been a little lucky in that department. Mm-hmm. They've been running the ball more, and Andy said it has been on purpose. It wasn't just a matter of willy-nilly play call or game flow or anything like that. So that's a positive, and it's just it's still building in my mind. Do you feel that way, or do you think there's something else going on?
No, I think that they're still trying to find themselves a little bit. It's a new offense, and even though the offensive line is still having the tackles are kind of a problem. They're going to be a little bit more of a problem as in this division, as we'll see with the pass rushes. It's going to be a little bit of a problem with that area, but they have to figure that out as we go. And I think that Andy got a little hesitant in sticking with his game plan, the running game, early in the game against the Chargers. He did find it in the second half. They stuck with it a little bit more, and then finally they broke a big one, which is honestly, they had multiple times that they should have broken big ones where blocks were not made by the offensive line. So there's going to be some room for improvement there. I think Mahomes needed that game. He got sped up too. His internal clock got sped up and he started making mistakes. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not in my film review because I did it specifically on the defense. Mahomes is forcing the ball to cover at MVS. He's forcing it to him. He had 7 targets. Every single target that he got except for maybe one, he was blanketed. He's not getting open. And in my opinion, they're trying to figure out how best to utilize him and get him open in this offense. So maybe he'll have a better day against the Colts, but right now they are kind of struggling to find a spot for him in terms of this offense because, in my opinion, he doesn't really fit. I don't think he is a very good fit in what they want to do. He doesn't create against man. He's not really a zone finder either. He's more of just if you find a coverage breakdown, he's going to exploit it because of his speed. And that's all I've really ever seen from MVS. So I'm hoping they find a role for him. Otherwise, they're going to be implementing him out of the game plan or just being a very specific player, at least in my opinion.
I'm banking on the fact that he hasn't done stuff before, that he will find it. I do feel that he is an experimentation right here. It's like how tight a window is Patrick comfortable with, and how much can he use his body to shield in order to make catches when he is that well covered. I think that's going to be an ongoing process. I still feel have optimism for where he's going to get to. We'll see if that comes true or not. But, there's a lot that goes into it. David Bell, thank you for your support.
Thank you, David.
We appreciate you. You guys, I am stacking up your questions as we talk about this offense. And I'm getting a little cold, so I'm going to throw my hoodie on. I'm going to let you kick off on the questions because Bert's got one.
Thank you for the question, Bert. Always appreciate your questions. Which of these free agent linebackers should Chiefs sign to fill in for Willie Gay? Blake Martinez, Anthony H., Donta Hightower, Reggie Redline, and Albert Tree. Well, I don't think they're going to be signing any linebackers because there was a reason that they kept Jack Cochran on this practice squad. He's going to be elevated. They'll have him on the team come Sunday. And there's a reason that Darius Harris made this team. And it's not just because Jermaine Carter played poorly. It's because Harris played well in the preseason. He played well in showcasing. He was more than just a body. I think he's going to be, if you noticed on Thursday, he was getting Nick Bolton snaps in obvious passing situations with Willie Gay. So they trust him on the field already as someone who's going to be a coverage linebacker. That's what he's going to be. He's going to be the will for this team for the next 4 weeks. I know a lot of people think that means that Leo Chanel is going to get more snaps. If they play in the base more, yeah, he'll get more snaps, which they might, especially Sunday. They're probably going to be in base a little bit more. But I think that this is going to be a Darius Harris hopefully playing as well as he has to this point this year as the will linebacker. So I don't think they're going to be doing anything with free agent linebackers.
Yeah, I think that'll be interesting. Like I don't see Darius as a good fit at will myself. I'd rather see Elijah play it, but Darius has been playing better. So you have that back and forth, right? I personally love Blake Martinez's game. I would look to bring him in because I think he can up the depth. He's better than Lee and Harris right now, in my opinion. Question is longevity and injury, et cetera, et cetera. The investment you make. So, I mean, that's what it comes down to. But I will say this too. I agree with you. They should be in more base against the Colts. Yeah. After that, it gets a little murkier. Like, I don't know that anybody's really hitting on all cylinders. The Bills are going to do what they do because they have the guys that they have. Other than that, if they see more run, you could see Chanel more. I won't rule it out yet, but certainly against the Colts.
Definitely.
You got to hope you see something. Man, good Lord. Swag boy, love the show. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mahomes could have run for first so many times on extended plays. Why is he throwing it from the pocket instead of extending? Because that's what he's supposed to do. They don't want him taking chances in the first half of the season. They don't want him to miss games, risk getting hit, anything like that. Unless he has to leave the pocket, they want him to stay there. Mm-hmm. You know he's going to do it anyway. So, I mean, let him do his thing.
I mean, I think stepping up into a pocket is the best way to play quarterback. I mean, we know that Mahomes, the most exciting way, the way Mahomes plays is why he gets out of the pocket, he makes things happen. But from a pocket, my camera just kind of lost
That's connection. Right. We can still hear you.
So, from a pocket perspective, he can step up, he can see the whole field, and then he can actually get the ball down the field. So that's what they're looking for. And I'm hoping to see him continue to do that.
I like it. Yeah. I mean, it shows maturity. It shows the fact that you can lose a play and not have to create with your legs and really not risk yourself for the season, because that's, I think, more important at this point.
Yeah.
Over under 4 team sacks and 1 int against Indy. It's not Ben Roethlisberger, but Matt Ryan ain't moving around.
He is basically Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah. I mean, if Ben Roethlisberger was alive, he would be Matt Ryan. But that should set you up for a lot more pressure. When you get pressure, you get picks. I actually will take the over on both of those.
I'll take the under on sacks, probably the over on picks.
Okay.
Because I think that they know that the Chiefs are going to be coming. So I think the ball is going to be coming out much like it did against with that pick, where he's just going to kind of float it, and it's going to take 9 seconds for it to fall down because he has no more arm strength.
Yeah.
He's got none.
It's a tough one. Preachers, so that's kind of our thought, is like Chanel, we should see him a lot this week. After that, it'll be a question mark. I think it'll be more Lee, but let's see what happens. And what happens, you might want to put some stuff out there on the line from time to time. And we have a way that we can help you from our newest sponsor. Support the folks that support us here from DraftKings. Well, if I hit the right button anyway. The NFL action is in full swing here at DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NFL. Touchdowns, big plays, big come from behind wins, and new customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win and get $200 in free bets if they do. If that's not enough, everyone can boost their winnings with DraftKings stepped up same game parlays. Right now, for every leg that you add, you can boost your winnings up to 100%. With payouts bigger than ever, why bet on football anywhere else? To make things even sweeter, you can now throw down on stepped up same game parlays once per game, all day, all season long. All you got to do is go to DraftKings Sportsbook, get that app at any app store, and use our promo code RGR to get $200 in free bets if your team wins when you place a $5 bet on any football game. That's the code RGR. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Minimum age and eligibility requirements do apply. Check the show notes for all the details. And appreciate them. And appreciate you guys checking out. I know a lot of you are getting into that this time of year. So if you have Gabe Davis in fantasy tonight, you probably need to go make up for it by placing some kind of bet because he ain't playing tonight, which I'm glad I removed him from my lineup. So, hey, that's nice. Now, Tracy brings up the big news of the day about Willie Gay. And as we understand it, it's being reported that it is a final thing, that it's not able to be appealed. Now, I don't understand that because as I understand the previous NFLPA-CBA agreement, it should be appealed. The only thing I will tell you is we didn't know this was coming. We would have understood about Jack Cochran a little bit faster, that kind of thing. So there's a possibility it's already been appealed and it's done. And they're just not announcing that. The NFL's secreted in that way. But as it stands now, it's going to be 4 games without him, Tracy.
It's unfortunate.
It is. I think he's right on the cusp of actually turning in to a dominant linebacker if he can finish plays, whether it's the picks, the PBUs, or certainly the tackles. If he can just finish the plays, he's going to be pretty impressive. How are you feeling about the defense overall? For how young they are, I'm optimistic. Dan, what do you think?
That's a great question, Adam, and I appreciate you asking it. I wish I could answer as honestly as I want to, but you'll find all that out on Wednesday because my film room just all about the defense and what I think they could be. But right now, I'm feeling comfortable. I think that's just like these young players. They look comfortable. I feel like they're playing. They feel like they're stepping out there, and they all kind of know how to play in the NFL. And that's the most you can ask, in my opinion, for young rookie players in a new defense with a ton of them playing a lot of snaps. I think that's what you can really look to, is that they look comfortable. I think Jalen Watson is really good. I think he's really good. And that's a 7th round pick who not just is getting playing time, unfortunately, because of an injury, but now you're looking at a possibility where he might be, in my opinion, he's going to be the starter in nickel with Trent McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed when Trent comes back. So you're getting looks at these young players, and there's a lot of room to grow there. There's a lot of room.
It's really nice when you look at completion percentage tied with PBUs, et cetera, and not just a grade that PFF puts out. And I know how you all feel about PFF, but in terms of tracking statistics and how guys line up, they still do a great job. But when you put those categories together, which are the same categories I use for college corners when we do the draft work.
Yeah.
In the top 10, there's 3 Chiefs, and it's not just Trent McDuffie. It is Jalen Watson.
Yep.
And that's what's encouraging. It's going beyond that. And again, finding value on day 3 at the quarterback position is nearly unheard of. And now it looks like Brett Veach has 2 of them. Jalen hasn't had a ton of reps. So I'm fine with that. If he just happens to be the dude that always performs against the Chargers, I'm awesome with that.
Yeah.
So that works just fine for me. Bill, yak yards for Casey, 5.9, Chargers 5.4. Is that stat more useful, passing yards or yak yards? I mean, yak is all about what the player does once he has the ball. So you can't plays are designed to get you yak, but still up to that guy to do it. And I think it becomes, when you look at some teams, like if you look at Mac Jones, he's not throwing for much yardage. because he doesn't have the guys who can get open. You have to get it to him and rely on them to make a play, whereas Patrick can actually throw the ball down the field. So it's a little misleading depending on it. I don't apply yak versus air yards across the board to every quarterback because I think it's offense dependent. Dan, do you see it differently?
No, this is more of a fantasy football question, in my opinion, because I think that yak is more dependent and more important for like fantasy relevant players, but it based on situation, what you're trying to accomplish. We've seen, screens dependent upon yak, and middle of the field stuff where guys are wide open scheming for yak as well is something that Andy Reid does too. So it's more of seeing the plays that are supposed to go, like against man coverage. You're not always going to get those yak yards, especially when you're targeting a covered player. So maybe you're looking to get a rub route to get somebody open for a yak. So it's really just about the play and how it's designed to get guys open like that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Holly, Seth had said to me, and I think he said it on social media too, that he just doesn't have enough information.
Yeah.
This case involves the assault of a vacuum cleaner, as I understand. So
yes,
I thought the charge was dismissed and it was a done deal, but evidently I'm incorrect. Okay, so they're still suspending him for that. So there must be something more on the internal investigation that we don't know about. That's really all we can go with.
I personally think this is just this is, again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know anything about anything. Just fair warning. To me, this is the NFL continuing to try to make more of a stance about domestic issues. Okay. We have the statement from Willie Gay's lawyer saying that he broke the vacuum cleaner while they were in an actual argument. That's why she called the cops, and that's why it happened. Obviously, she came to later, which was also reported, and they dropped all the charges. So in my opinion, this is the NFL saying, I don't care what you do. I don't care what you did. In domestic issues, we are going to have a suspension in place. Again, I'm not a lawyer. Don't come call me for legal advice. I don't know anything.
Seth S. Kaiser Esquire is what you're looking for there, folks. Devontae, how does Gay's suspension hurt the Chiefs? It hurts the Chiefs on being able to cover the swing passes, the short hooks, the things the linebacker has to get to at least halfway to the sideline and cover that zone, because that's what you don't have without Willie. Nick's been really good at improving that. He had a couple of hiccups this week.
Yep.
He's still good, but he's not as fast as Willie. Leo is as fast as Willie in the straight line, but he doesn't play backward at all. So that's a disadvantage. So then you have Elijah Lee and you have Darius Harris, two guys that are good and can do the drops, but they're nowhere near as fast. So I expect them to try to hit the edges with the running backs and the tight ends, maybe some quick outs, maybe some curls with the bigger wide receivers, especially if they stack them. Mm-hmm. If Pierce is back, I think they're going to go to him quite a bit, to tell you the truth.
Pierce, I think maybe some of the quicker guys in some of your, especially like get Doolin in the backfield, use Nyheim Hines out of the backfield to try to really get those matchup problems, I think is what you'll see a lot of as well.
I'm with you. Sean, what does the team have to do to not fall into the trap against the Colts? And how do they deal with the void that occurred with Gay Sports? We covered the Gay part, but when a team gets blanked by the Jacksonville Jaguars 24-0, it's hard to maintain your edge, your eye of the tiger, What do they do?
This is a uniquely tough one. I think I follow, if you guys don't, I follow Zach Hicks on Twitter. He's phenomenal, a film breakdown analysis for the Indianapolis Colts over there. And he's been talking about how the Colts have had this game circled forever. And when you have a game circled, because the Jags, if you didn't know, took the Colts out of the playoffs last year in the final week of the season. When you have all of this angst and this anger and this buildup for a game, and not one person shows up, that can impact them later. The Colts have kind of historically been this team that either they start off cold or they end cold. Go back to the Phillip Rivers. They did the same thing. They started off really cold. They didn't play very well. They got beat by the Jaguars that opening game with Phillip Rivers. Last year, it was more of they ended cold. This year, it looks like they're starting off really cold. So they have to be prepared. So they have to continuously remember this is the NFL. 1 week doesn't mean anything, because you could lose to the Colts you could lose to the Jags 1 week. They could go out and say they weren't playing. They could actually beat the Chiefs this week because the NFL is a whole different monster. They have to keep that mentality in. They have to keep themselves engaged. You can't just take weeks off in the NFL. You will get the doors blasted off you if you do that.
Yeah. it is a game of matchups, and you'd be surprised what some of the smallest things are that determine outcomes. It's crazy. Kyle Black, great question. What's the biggest surprise, good and bad, so far this year? For me, it's that Andy is willing to run, and Clyde looks like the guy that I thought he was going to be 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I know you're not, Dan, but what does surprise you?
The biggest thing that surprises me right now, the good, is that this defense is coming along faster than I expected it to. Obviously, the loss of Willie Gay is going to hurt them in that process, but when you have so many, like we talked a little bit about it, you have all these young guys knowing where they're supposed to be on the field and execute is a problem at times. And that can really help everyone kind of calm down a little bit. And I think that just having some guys make smart heads up plays, like the game on Thursday, you have George Karlaftis, who knows that there's a possibility that Justin Herbert's going to have a bootleg. They did it all off of play action all day. He stays home. And guess what? He gets in the passing lane. That's just a smart heads up play, indicative of someone who's smart and is coachable. They're coachable. In the second half, they made adjustments and they said, look, we're not going to let this bootleg beat us. And they didn't. That's all I can say about the good for this defense, is that they're smart and they look comfortable. The bad, the tackles. Yeah. And I know that I can probably take a little solace in the fact that it was the best pass rush they'll face all year. Most likely.
Yeah.
I do think that the Jags, by the time they get there, might have something to say about that.
Could be.
But Orlando Brown, for somebody who made so much, just in my opinion, unneeded distraction this offseason about getting paid, is not playing the way that he needs to play to get that money. That's going to be a problem because the Chiefs don't have a right tackle either. So, I mean, there's some issues developing at the tackle spot.
Yeah. Right now, Patrick's covering up a lot of that.
Yes.
It's not, 5-alarm fire, but there's smoke. That's the way that I put it. Donnie, thank you for the support, buddy. Appreciate you. 2 questions. Is this the Mike Dana breakout year? We hope so. And is Brian Cook going to get with it with Gay out? Going to step up with Gay out? You take the first one. Is this where we see Mike Dana actually change games?
You guys, Chris Jones struggled with Zion Johnson. You want to know what? Mike Dana beat him multiple times. Like, not just beat him, embarrassed him a couple of times. And that tells you, one, Spagnuolo's using more NASCAR. He's using more NASCAR, which I love to see, by the way. But yes, this, in my opinion, it already is. He's playing right now the first 2 games better than he ever has in his career.
Yeah, I mean, NASCAR Spags, I've only been asking for since the day you walked in.
Yeah, the day you walked in, man.
It is what it is. And for Brian Cook, Brian's my guy. He's going to be fine. Got a little overhyped this last ball game.
He was a little bit of a loose cannon.
I would rather see him do that than get his butt kicked by the Chargers, because they always come to play that ball game. So I'm fine with that. He will settle down, and I do think they will use the 3 safety set a bit more, especially if they try to go linebacker and the matchups aren't working.
Yeah,
Hines is the concern. You're absolutely right, Dan. That's a matchup I don't think anybody in the linebacker crew except for Willie can run with him. So it will necessitate a safety. He's got to maintain his composure. He's got to maintain his hype. He got a little out of control. I don't think that's permanent, though, and I think he'll be fine. And thank you for the support, Donnie. Ian, I know you're a KU fan. Any current Jayhawks you think will be draft targets in the next few years? Also, KU is 3-0 and the Chiefs are 2-0. That means KU is better. Well, Ian, I'm perfectly fine with that. And I will tell you this. I am loving this resurgence of KU football. They haven't been this good since I played. And that was a long time ago. So, but I will say this. If Jalen Daniels continues on this streak, he's not going to be here long.
Nope.
He's eligible now for the draft. If he puts together, if he continues to do what was it? 5 touchdowns he personally manufactured this week, 3 in the air and 2 on the ground. Like, if he does even half of that consistently through this season, he's going to have so much draft interest. I don't know how he could stay. That's going to be a problem. The blonde-haired receiver, I don't know everybody's names on KU's roster. I'm sorry, Jayhawk fans. I'm a bad Jayhawk, but I do this like NFL thing every day of my life all the time, so it's a little difficult. But I will say this too. I'm a sucker for a fullback tight end guy that looks like he could be me. You know what I mean? So, hey, you never know. Chiefs and Jordan. I was the only one that felt confused and that the Chiefs didn't run more 13 personnel against the Chargers. You don't even need to run. You just got to threaten them with the run. Were you surprised by that, Dan? And what do you think about it?
Yeah, I was a little surprised, especially because with Andy's commitment to the run in the early parts of the game, he didn't even try it. Like, it wasn't even a thought. When you have Jody Fortson getting 6 snaps in that game, in my opinion, he was like, I'm not doing it. I'm just going to the quick game. And the film kind of bears that out. Yeah. First drive, they were like, we'll run the ball. And then he said, yeah, we're done doing that after one drive. That was a problem. And then after, the second half, they did get back to it a little bit, but not using 12 personnel is, in my opinion, with how they wanted, or 13 personnel, with how they wanted to attack down the field in contested situations with MVS, doesn't make a whole lot of sense to not say, hey, Jody, I think you can do this a little bit better than MVS can do it. And by the way, you're going to mismatch every single corner that you see, every one of them.
I agree.
So I was a little confused, and I think Noah Gray's done a really good job. I think he's been heads and tails better than he was last year, and that's why he was out snapping Jody Fortson, which I didn't expect. So I was confused, but I'm thinking Andy Reid's going to get it right this week.
I think it was on purpose. I think they showed all that 13 against the Cardinals to get the Chargers to do one thing, and they went the opposite direction. They probably overthought it a little bit, but I will also say this. The most important film for any opponent of any year is your division rivals, because they get to see their matchups against your guys for real. It's not like, oh, this guy did this, but he's on somebody else's team. So, like, Andy hides more stuff from the first game of every AFC West opponent than he hides from anybody else.
Okay.
And I think that's part of the equation there. I personally think that's overthinking it, but that's what it felt like to me.
Let's hope so.
Because there's no way Jody should have been all over that ballgame. Because I'm sorry. Drew Tranquill's a great player. He's a great athlete. He's outplayed his draft stock 10 times. He cannot hang with Jody Fortson. So that's there, folks. The next meeting, just be prepared.
Yep.
Quentin, how much do we need to worry about the D with Gay? I mean, there's more susceptibilities. You can make up for it in particular ways with the statuesque quarterback, Chris Jones and company need to go off.
Yeah, it is. Pretty much.
Corey, the national media really haven't talked about the defense in the second half. What do you think? I think I'm pleasantly surprised. George Karlaftis is leading the rookie class in pressures right next to Aiden Hutchinson. The only difference is he hasn't been able to finish yet. I'm not worried about that. It's the nature of his game that he will pressure by backing tackles up rather than coming around the edge, so he doesn't have quite as many opportunities to convert to sacks. But the fact that he's doing it at the best clip of anybody in the rookie class is really encouraging.
Yes.
Even more so than we thought, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe you were more optimistic than me.
No, I didn't know. Like, you guys know how I felt about the pick, because there's no question how I felt about it, but I didn't know how he would perform. The sacks they'll come, but again, this was more my expectation that he wouldn't get home, and that's not necessarily an indictment on him. It's because this pass rush outside of Chris Jones is still rather lackluster. I know that they had the more of an anomaly against the Cardinals, which turns out their offensive line is hot garbage, and I think the Chargers, up until they got hurt on the offensive line and they mismatched Jones against Filer, were also doing what I expected them to, which is let Justin Herbert put up a chair back there and sit and just do whatever he wanted to in that first half, which he did. And he carved him up pretty nice. So I'm hoping that this NASCAR package, we're seeing it used more. Spags is going to be using that more. So I think the pressures and the sacks are going to come.
Yeah, it needs to be a staple. There's no way around that. And I will tell you guys this. In the next 3-4 weeks, I do expect both. I feel bad for whoever plays the Chargers next, because they're pissed, and they ought to be.
Yep.
I think the Cardinals are going to continue to improve. And I think in 4 or 5 weeks, people are going to look at the Chiefs like, oh, they kept those guys under 27 points, both of them.
Yep.
That's pretty decent. Because right now, like we talked preseason, you give Patrick Mahomes 28 points or less that he has to score to get the ball game one, you're home free.
Yep.
They're doing that. And that's all that matters. Let's see. Red Hood, hope you're doing well. I know it's early, but how would you grade Karlaftis? Areas improvements, areas he's surprised in. He's getting more extension and more pushback than I expected. He still needs to continue to work on his pad level dynamics. It's there, but he's not consistent with it. And if everybody saw what they saw in the preseason and actually think he has more ankle flexion and more bend,
Yeah.
keep working on that, because if it's true, he's going to be a monster. If it doesn't happen, he's still going to be a very good pass rusher.
All right, now I'll give him about a B, which I think is good. He's a pretty good run defender. He has some mental lapses at times, getting a little tucked up in his blocks. He still has some issues getting off of pass blocks at times, but overall, the pressures are there. The sacks will come, and again, the effort and the willingness to get smarter inside of a game and understanding what's coming at him, it shows a lot of room for improvement. So I think that he's right now a B, and he's got room to grow into an A player.
I like it. Jeff Lever, how's Nick Bolton looked through 2 games? You go ahead, Dan.
Nick Bolton's looked like he finished the season. I think that he's still struggling a little bit in pass coverage, which is the reason that Darius Harris was on the field in some of those situations last night or on Thursday. But this is what we expect of Nick Bolton. He's got a little bit more missing tackles than he did last year, which we're talking about like 1 or 2 more than normal. And I'm hoping that he can figure that out, because already the Chiefs have 21 missed tackles on the season. Yeah. That's not great. It's really not great. So I'm hoping they can clamp that down, and he's going to be a big reason for that. Like I said, I've tweeted this out this morning or last night. If I am Steve Spagnuolo, I'm going to Nick Bolton this week, and I'm just going to talk to him. I'm like, look, Nick, just come here. You have one job on Sunday. Find Jonathan Taylor, tackle him. I don't care what else you do. Just tackle Jonathan Taylor. That's all you have to do. Bring back that Derrick Henry game that you had last year, where you were meeting him in the hole and you were decimating him. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, it's a trade-off, because yes, he's missing more. Funny enough, when I look at PFF, they don't have him missing any tackles. I have at least 2 on my count.
I do too as well.
And it's coming because he's able to be more aggressive and be his instinctual self more so than he was last season, because he's processing faster, and that's a good thing. Yes. It just comes much like Willie, just having to be a little bit more in control when you get to the contact point. I think that's going to be fine as well. And I think he's proven to be a guy that can steady that defense and be a leader. With him and Justin Reed on the field, Chris Jones bringing the edge to it, I think they're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to talk about the other guy with the edge, but anyway. David, not worried about the Colts, worried about Gay suspension. Who starts next to Nick? Leon? Okay. Yeah, we pretty much covered that. If you missed it, David, we think a combination. Leo's going to get a lot of playtime against the Colts. Yeah. It might be Elijah or Nick or Darius after that. I don't know if Jack Cochran makes it onto the field. I think he's like the break last guy, but that could be me. Keys, hope you're doing well, folks. Remember, Rogue Head Huddle with Keys and Gooch. You don't want to miss that. And if you want to get in the Discord, you talk to Keys when you're in there, because he's there all the time. It's awesome. I am not there at all because, again, we're making vids. We're doing stuff. So that's what we're doing. But Keys has it all under control. So make sure that if you join at the rookie level, give me that email so we can get you in the Discord. Against the Falcons, Rams, use Ben Skowderonic. I can never say his name right. Aligned to fullback nearly a third of the offensive plays and had 2.5 EPA. EPA, really? Okay. When there's alignment versus not. Approve of the manipulation of fullback alignment versus a fullback. Yeah, I mean, I just want to see them on the field. So, like, what they're doing the same thing with Burton, right? Like, they lined him up in H last week. They lined him up as a tight end. Like, whatever you can do to use, like, the mini tight end that is a fullback, I don't care. That's fine. Every now and then, Mike Burton, like, Horvath scored, right?
Yeah.
So, LA's using it, too. There's a couple others. There's the enormous fullback out there in Baltimore.
Yeah, Ben Mason.
The more you,
or is
yeah.
it?
Well, Ben Mason, too. No, it's the other guy that I could, Patrick, right?
Oh, yeah, Ricard, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you can do with them, I approve of all of it. If the Chiefs would have a fullback on the field a third of the time, I might have to stop talking.
He would never. I don't think he'd be able to watch a game all the way.
No,
he might just like go into a comatose. He'd be so happy.
But I read that, Stevie, as yards per carry initially, not EPA. That's enormous. So yeah, I mean, please use it all you can. And I assume you're saying that's 2.5 EPA above normal.
Yeah. So, he's a wide receiver, so it makes sense, especially if they're going to be in kind of a base personnel set. He's a bigger receiver, so you're still going to get an athletic advantage by using him as a fullback. So I understand it, and it wouldn't – honestly, I would like to see the Chiefs use some of their tight ends like that and a little bit more.
Oh, did you see the full backfield thing somebody did over the weekend?
It was the Seahawks. They brought out all 4 of their running backs, and then they threw a pick.
You do that with the tight ends and the fullback in this team, you're scoring points. I'm just telling you. Thank you for that one, Stevie. Ian, Chanel going to take Gay snaps for the next few weeks. Like we said, some of them. Certainly this week. We'll see after that. If he performs well, because they will catch him in some play action, some things where he'll have to drop it, he'll have to play pass coverage. If he performs well, he can earn himself more snaps.
Yes, for sure.
I believe that. Okay. So I'm not crazy. After seeing the Raiders and Broncos struggling along with the Colts losing to the Jaguars and the Rams not looking so good, how does the Chiefs' schedule play out?
Ask us again in like 3 weeks.
It's all smiles, bro.
Yeah, I think the Colts are going to look better. I think the Rams are going to look better. I don't think the Broncos have any room to look worse than they have, so they'll probably look better. The Raiders will just be the Raiders. Like, this is what they are. So I'm not totally as transfixed on the idea that they could be as tough as it was yet. We'll see, but I think that it's got some wiggle room.
Yeah, it's the focus is still the Bills.
Yes,
I mean, Bills and Chargers. You got one out of the way. Yes, you have a rematch with them. You got to take out the Bills. The Bucks don't look good. They can't put up points consistently. I mean, Mike Evans needs to come off the bench to get anything physical done in that ball game. So, I mean,
did you see what he said?
No.
He was like, "It's Tom Brady. What am I supposed to do?" Like, honestly, I don't have an issue with that. Like,
I don't either.
I understand it. Get off the bench or come off the field and do that. Right? I'm okay with that. It was
your quarterback's 68 years old. You're one wide receiver. There's 51 other guys that should have been there first. Is my own.
Yeah, right. And Mike Evans. I like Mike Evans, but this is clearly him taking issues with the fact that he just can't beat Marshawn Lattimore. He has his number. His number.
So it does look like it's Bills and Chargers. And I mean, hey, Bengals fans, hope you're still in the chat. Ooh. Never mind. So far through 2 weeks, what players have looked better than expected and who's looked worse? Jalen Watson has looked better than I expected him to. Brian Cook had a bad game. I can call that worse. I thought Orlando would be better than he has been.
Me as well. I think that one guy who's looked better than expected is Mike Dana, and I will not stop talking about it, as well as Clyde. If those 2 guys for me are above and beyond improvements for them, I think that's great. I'm hoping they can stay with that consistently. And then worse than I expected is Rashad Fenton.
Yeah.
And that's because I think that not only is he playing his game, continuing to play his game, he's in worse position as well. And that's not a good mix of what you're hoping for from him. So, and hopefully he can get his feet under him and play a little bit better, because they're going to need him while Trent McDuffie's out.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. He's a chippy dude. He relies on aggression and talking trash and that kind of thing. It just doesn't work against Mike Williams. Yeah. The guy beats this team. It's just a thing. And when you overplay your position, that's what happens. Britton, hope you're doing well. Mahomes has always had a lot of drop picks. People call him the luckiest QB. At what point do we start to consider drop picks a skill? Never. That is, I mean, from Pee Wee football on, Patrick is just, I mean, I don't know if it's the bath bombs, but he's got a rabbit's foot somewhere, and it's working.
The bath bombs. Another commercial out, man.
I know, like my kids can't get enough of that. So
that commercial is hilarious. So hats off to Patrick for that. But I mean, the PFF guys are always going to try and make luck out to be something that will eventually come back around. Luck is this weird thing that you can't quantify it. Even you may want to try and quantify it. You can't say, oh, eventually all of this will come back to bite him. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. That's just how it works, because it's something that is random. It's not something you can quantify.
It's always fun to think, though. I mean, hey, no, it's not, kittens. I'm saying that's what PFF thinks. It's always fun to think about. Yeah. David, thank you for the support. Appreciate you. I'm grabbing some more. Welcome, Justin Mead, to the memberships. Nice to see you. And your daddy, Elon. I like that. Elon, if you could get my Starlink to work consistently, that'd be great, bro. Yeah, need that pretty bad. Big KC, Big Jack, how are you? Assume that the wide receiver core stays the same next season. Does KC draft any wide receivers next season, or do they rely on Justin Ross? They do not rely on Justin Ross. he is a glass tiger at this point until he proves he can stay healthy, not even through a preseason, but through a season. You draft.
I don't think this receiving core is going to stay the same. I'm starting to believe. I mean, it's only week 2. We have a lot of room to see what happens, but I think that there's at least 1, if not 2, players that will not be on this in this wide receiver core next year. They need to continue to develop and draft receivers that can create separation. They have one guy.
Yeah.
And he's not playing enough, in my opinion, that creates consistent separation. I say McCole can do it a little bit more than I'm seeing that he used to be able to. And obviously Juju is a zone beating machine, but there is a serious lack of footwork and skill and release ability on this team.
It's been 3 weeks of college football. Do you trade up for Jordan Addison right now?
No.
Okay. Because that's the next question that's coming.
See, I think Josh Downs is better.
Okay. That's interesting.
But he hasn't played. I think he's been injured for North Carolina. I think Jordan Addison has some very serious footwork issues. Okay. He's an electric player. That dude falls down almost on every other cut that I watch. He is an uncontrolled player. If he can rein that in, sure. But he's got some footwork issues, in my opinion.
Kev, did you hear about Andy today on Mahomes' PFF grade? Do you think that there was some truth to their grade on him? Andy was very, very respectful of what they do. He did not say the word grade, though, because I went back and listened. And I've had conversations. I've had 2 very thoughtful conversations with Mike Frazier, the Chiefs analytics guru, who Andy talked about today as well, that Mike produces a lot of their in-house stats. They don't rely necessarily on the grades. Much like we do around here, the raw data is important. We interpret it ourselves. And that said, he did state that he thinks PFF does a pretty good job. I mean, that's admitting that there are some issues with what Patrick's been doing, just like we've been trying to say. There's a lot of channels. There's a lot of blogs. There's a lot of podcasts that want to tell you everything's rosy and Patrick's the greatest ever. Patrick's human. He makes mistakes too. And pointing that out is how he gets rid of them and gets better.
Yeah. Honestly, if you guys want to see what I think about the PFF grading system, you can go back and watch my video from last week on Wednesday. I honestly think it was a really good job of being as unbiased as possible and explaining why some things were graded poorly or neutral or positive. So go make sure you check that out.
It was eye-opening a little bit, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, you always know that there are some mistakes that he makes, but I think that people just kind of assume that, yeah, he was great. And I think that you always do these kind of exercises to remain unbiased in your analysis and improve. So it was nice to take a second and just be charting, just not try to always talk up. It was just be a charting. So that was nice.
I'm with you. What are the chances McDuffie comes back? We see him and Watson instead of Fenton. It's a possibility. I won't say that it's the likelihood yet. It all depends on how Fenton responds. Watson has upped his game. If Fenton can do that, I think Steve wants to trust the veteran. We'll see if he does. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, you're right.
Tactics, thanks for the support, buddy. Bashaw Breeland suplexes Stephon Diggs, gets a penalty. Derwin James does the same thing and gets nothing. Yeah, that's the winning bias. It's also, I don't know, it's Travis Kelce. Like, the guy's indestructible. And I think the refs sometimes plead that into that, he can't hurt Travis. But yeah, you're right. Andy explained it today that Travis kind of was trying to go over the top of him. It kind of helped him elevate. And it's like, okay, that's fine. But it's the way that he landed that was the problem. So I do have issue with it.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of this is the NFL, the inconsistency with penalties, suspensions. It's all a problem. There's just no rhyme or reason to any of this. And they have to do a better job. They really do.
Yeah. Cody, upon rewatch Thursday game, looks like they ran some vanilla plays. It looks like it to me. Yeah, I mean, that's what I was kind of hinting at before. Like, they're saving stuff for the Chargers number 2.
I agree.
And quite frankly, they didn't have the preparation time. So whatever they prepared, they had this game plan in, set, and ready before the Cardinals game, because they only ran one major practice and it was a walkthrough. They didn't put pads on. They didn't do anything else. They didn't run 11s. It was simple. So there was a lot of stacking preparation there. Good observation, Cody. Tracy, I answered this, but thank you for your support and asking
Yes,
it.
thank you, Tracy.
I think it's buried somewhere in the NFLPA that there was something specific to the domestic aspect of this that he either couldn't appeal or he had to do and was done, and we just didn't hear about it because of a lack of press over the summer is my thought, but that's all we really know. Has the pass rush looked improved thus far? As a unit, I would say yes. I'd have to go run the numbers to see if they're getting more pressure, but I feel like they're closer.
They've been a bit better, in my opinion. And the Chargers game was kind of what I expected it to be in terms of they didn't do a great job initially, and then they found some matchup problems that they exploited.
Why did the Chiefs run when the Chargers blitzed and played man coverage on the same play? Because that's what they had, whether it was personnel package or generally they'll have a 2-play call kind of set up. Unless Patrick was just going to totally ad lib it, which puts him generally in jeopardy. They were just going to run the play, and I don't think they wanted to take a risk. Veron, sorry. What are the PM stats from the pocket? I have not broken them down by pocket. We can try to do that later in the week, or we'll do that next week after we break down week 3.
Cool.
Any idea why Andy Reid? In fact, Dan, if you want, you might have just gotten your next idea.
All right.
Any idea why Mahomes didn't lead Watson more on the TD? JC nearly tipped it away from him, and it looked like a good chance to throw a dart. On that particular route, you want to let your receiver run under it. Like, you don't want to put that on a rope necessarily, especially if he has some coverage. And they designed that play for him. He said after the game that like they had practiced it that way. So I don't know if it was just like a little light on the footwork or what, Dan.
So Mahomes threw the ball when Jackson wasn't close. Jackson is a very good athlete, guys. He's a very fast guy. He closed on that football, okay? I mean, he wasn't necessarily as close as he could have been, but you never really know as a quarterback how fast someone's going to close on a football. Mahomes threw it right where he needed to. Like, he threw it. It was in stride. It was on point. It was perfect. And also, Mahomes is leaping forward in a pocket with 2 feet up off the ground. He can't always control exactly where to go. So it's hard to really critique what he can do in that situation. But I think he put it on the money. And sometimes a defender gets lucky by being just the better athlete than Justin Watson is.
Yeah, I'm with you. EK, how long till Sky Moore gets involved? I think it's this week.
It's going to be soon. Honestly, especially look early in this game. MVS has a couple targets. He's not separating. Watch Sky Moore get more involved. I promise you that will happen.
Yeah. Holly, thank you for the support. Appreciate you as always. Brian Cook had 2 personal fouls during the last game and potentially costly penalties. Are you concerned about his potential behavioral issues? Not at all. He's never had an off-the-field incident that I'm aware of. He's a guy that has been a leader on his team everywhere that he's been. I think he got a little overexcited. And quite frankly, I'll bet he's a little bit frustrated he's not getting more playing time. So he's trying to take it out in the special teams aspect. I do think he obviously went too far, and that was not smart. I think he'll dial that down. I think he's going to be a staple in this defense for a very long time. Are you tired of all the disrespect for Casey and Patrick getting? It seems like no matter what he does, it's not enough. What do you think, Dan?
Oh, I love it. I want as much disrespect as these national media hosts can muster, because we know Mahomes sees it all. He sees it all, and he uses all of it to play better and to fuel his success. So, yeah, bring it on. I welcome it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Tracy, I think we went over the game plan with Gay, just how they're going to compensate. Probably going to see more 3 safety as well. Kevin, Sky will get more reps. Yeah. The muff was not the greatest thing, but his first onside kick in the NFL. I think they're okay. I don't think they're going to hold that against him. I think Tobe will be, on top of that. Bill, thank you very much. Appreciate it. What with Willie would have gotten if he exalted the 26 vacuum cleaners instead of 25 and settled out of court. Can we stop Josh Allen without Willie? It's going to be tougher. It's going to fall to the athletic guys in Elijah Lee. It might be Chanel. I mean, if you're going to stack Chanel and bring him off the offside and not give Allen an escape path, you might be able to get away with that. But I do think it is going to come down to cloud coverage where safeties and corners can come up. It might be 4 safety sets rather than 3. 4 corner sets instead of 3 safety sets, depending on the personnel groups. But there are a number of ways where you can get faster guys on there that can track them.
Yeah, it's just got to – I don't necessarily think Willie is the key to stopping Josh Allen anyway, because he does miss tackles. I think in my opinion, it's got to be more Nick Bolton on Josh Allen, Brian Cook in there as well, but some tackles that are going to be, got to be better at lining up your tackles. That's the biggest issue for them. And I think that if they can do that collectively, they can stay in their rushing lanes. They can maybe play more contain, put a spy on them if you have to. That's what it's going to come down to.
And honestly, Nick can do that if he needs to, and the team rallies and they play solid core defense. That's what it comes down to. Let's see. Paddock special teams look okay. I haven't really studied them at all. Wade, we're going to speed up here, folks, as we hit the end. We got 10 minutes. What does it say when our late round draft picks are outplaying our highly paid players? Are players like MBS and Juju underperforming, or the rooks just that much better? Dan, give me your thoughts.
So you can never predict what's going to happen with a draft pick. You can't. It's impossible to know. Like we have inklings. We can study the tape as much as we want, but when they get in the NFL, it's hard to know. And specifically with guys like MBS and Juju, when you watch them play, in my opinion, they're tapped out of potential. They're the players that they're going to be for the next 3-4 years in the NFL. So you have these young guys that are coming in. They're got lots of untapped potential, and a coaching staff sees it, and they're like, okay, so he was better than he was in college. You can't keep him off the field. Like, it's just, you can't do it. So you think you're making the right decision, paying MVS or giving Juju that time. But at some point, you're going to realize that, okay, just got to play the better player. And sometimes it's going to be the veteran, sometimes it's going to be the rookie.
And that's why this team can handle injuries and still be productive. That is a good thing. Like, they cover all their bases.
Yeah.
They treat free agency as though they're going to strike out on every draft pick, and they treat the draft like they never got anybody in free agency.
Exactly.
That way you're always covered, and you always have someone that's the next guy up. And it's sound, and it's a consistent pattern and philosophy to do if you're the front office. Gary, did CH is he going to be the starter running back if he keeps having games like he did against the Chargers? He's going to be the starting running back anytime he's healthy.
You're seeing why he is the starting running back, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that angle route.
It's the thing we said the day he was drafted. This is the best route he ran at LSU.
The thing we talked about on the draft show. The show, guys. They had 2 screenplays. I know one got stuffed out, but he's healthy. He looks to be in the best shape of his career. I know everyone says that every year, but he looks to be in the best shape of his life.
Yeah, and if he keeps up, this is what the run game does. He busted that long run in the second half because they wore him down in the first. That's what running the ball does for you. Yep. And maybe he's not a guy that can get 15 yards 4 times in the game. Maybe he does need 1 40-yarder that he breaks away from, but it's there if you load it up correctly.
Yeah.
Alex, are you surprised the Bengals are off to a rough start? No, not at all.
Nope.
I thought they were dancing with fairy tales last year.
I was about to say that Super Bowl hangover hits harder when you're a team that probably shouldn't have made it there in the first place.
And you'll be amazed how many people start to respect that. The Rams are in the same situation. Wait, you guys have been to like 4 championship games in a row?
Yeah, right. What's going on in the chat down here?
I don't know. Did I miss something?
No, just
stream it out.
Chicken McFry is putting a bunch of faces in here.
Oh, well, that's cute. Folks, Aaron and Liz are occupied with some family stuff, so I'm going to take care of McFry there. And bear with me, please.
Sorry,
and they'll be back when they can be. Why not use Burton on the 1-yard line? The guy only gets yards. You're absolutely right, Justin. Andy hates to be predictable, and 9 times out of 10, you put a fullback in, they think you're going to hand it into him in short yardage.
Yep.
That's all it is. It has nothing to do with Burton. Why did the Chiefs not use power I on 3rd and short? Believe me, Rob, if I had an answer for that, and counters the most productive running play out of any formation in the NFL, because guys can't run it right. It's more difficult in a power blocking scheme than it is in a zone scheme, and guys have just gone away from it over the years. But preaching to the choir, brother, preaching to the choir. Will we ever QB sneak again? No.
Nope, never.
I don't think you'll ever see him do it. I'm not sure if you already addressed this. What's your take on Sky Moore barely getting any reps? I think it was just game planning. We'll get to that. Spards, thank you for your support,
Spards.
buddy.
Appreciate you.
I remember your first 4 games prediction was 3-1, assuming the L was to the Chargers. In your opinion, will Willie's suspension cost us a game? If not, if so, who? What do you think, Dan?
I don't think so. I think that they're in position with the offense getting better and the defense getting confident. I think that they'll actually pull together around this suspension. I think that teams can do that. I think this defense has the ability to do that as well. So I think that they're going to be okay. And again, this was always going to be a tough game against the Chargers, but there's a really realistic chance they finish this month 4-0.
Yeah, I had it 3-1, and it was the Chargers that I was worried about. Nothing's changed. I still think they're there. At least that 4-0 is more likely. The only game that scares me right now is Buffalo. So we'll see how that goes.
And I'll be there. So,
and that'll make everything perfect. So don't forget to slam the thumbs up button, please.
Go.
Thank you. And thank you for the super chat, Stevie. Yeah, that helps us find more fans, or more fans find us. The sub gets you more information because that's what we do. Thank you, Donnie. I know it's early, but why does Hackett have a job? Because George Paton cannot go away from him yet. He can't admit he's overwhelmed. And quite frankly, some of it's on your, former Pro Bowl quarterback too.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of blame to go around. MH, thank you for the support. Tactics, perhaps Pat throws it so fast that they can't intercept. Possibly. He does have good velocity on nearly every ball. When he tries to float it, it makes me cringe. So, Devontae, what grades of the rookie class through 2 weeks besides Trent?
Yeah, I think this is a B plus A type of class so far. You get lots of playing time, lots of production. So yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with their rookie class, especially a 7th round draft pick playing. I think is leaps and bounds. You got lots of guys on the roster that are contributing. So yeah, pretty happy.
I got a B plus in the class overall. I'm really happy with it so far. Faithful, how can the Chiefs adjust to not having an elite wide receiver so Mahomes go-to guy other than Kelsey? I mean, they're doing it. They're spreading the ball around. It'll be a different guy that pops up every week, and it'll be matchup dependent, just like 90% of the teams in the league. The question will be, is can they actually really go off? If McColl goes off, he could have a 200-yard game just like Tyreek or Jalen Waddle.
He's so close. He's so close.
It's small details. So, yeah, that's what it is. And when you have 4 or 5 options every snap, Patrick will do his thing, and it will be the offense that wins, not Patrick and Tyreek that wins.
Yeah.
MH, thank you for the support. Am I the only one who thinks that Justin Washington should start? I also see Jordy Nelson type. I see him as a Jordy Nelson type with Patrick. I don't see him as Jordan Nelson much at all. I think Jordy was way better out of his cuts, whereas I think Watson, that skinny post is his jam. Let his legs open up and use that length.
He's got 2 touchdown passes on skinny posts.
Right?
That's his thing. Right. So yeah, he's got a good feel for the middle of the field, and I think that they should really use him a lot in that situation. But you'll see him be rotated in and out, I think, quite a bit after this.
Yeah, I think so too. I'd like to see him, honestly. I don't know about starting. I don't know that he knows the offense well enough. Who knows? You only know that inside the building. But I will say this. Yeah. The deep overs that MVS got in week 1 that really worked, I'd like to see Watson do those because that's another route that he could really crush on. So I'll hope so. And last question of the night, we're going to get out of here on time tonight, folks. Woo! Outside Travis Kelce, who is the legit wide receiver 1? If not, who do you think will be at the end of the season? Juju's a 2. I'm sorry. There just isn't one.
They don't have a legit number 1. I don't think Sky can develop into one this year. Maybe next year. I think you might see him take more of a step forward, but I don't think they really have one.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought as well. Travis, thank you for the super sticker. We appreciate it. And now that Miss Avery's here to make her nightly appearance, we can call the show a wrap. Hi, sweetie. Very nice of you. So, folks, we're going to wrap it up because I'm going to do the Chiefs show on Locked On right now, and we got ball games going on. Thank you for your time and your support tonight. Thank you for being with us. For the new members, email me at rgrpodcast@gmail.com. Let me throw that up on the screen real quick. That's where it's at, and I'll get you added to the Discord if you are rookie or above, as I think some of you guys are. So we have a lot. Mr. Harms has all kinds of content already stacked up for you. I just got to get them posted to the site. So, Dan, thank you, as always. And I would like to know in the comments, if you're watching this on replay, with Chief in the North now, with Gary's work, now done is here. How you guys liking our diversity of content? Let us know what you'd like to see as well. I'm always looking for hints and insights. Thanks for spending your Monday night with us. Enjoy Monday Night Football. We'll talk to you next time.